Hey, and welcome back to the Dice Tower. I'm Camilla.
I'm Joey Evans.
I'm Z Garcia.
We're going to be taking a look at Lost Ruins of Arnak, the second expansion coming for this game. This is the Missing Expedition.
We found it.
Did you?
I didn't, no.
No, you didn't find it?
At all.
It's right there.
I did it now. I found it now.
Yeah, so this is the second expansion. The first one brought you some characters and a little bit of asymmetrical starting. This one's going to bring that as well.
Right.
Also a solo or two-player cooperative 6-game campaign mode.
I like that.
I was so excited about this. I love Lost Ruins of Arnak. I love cooperative. I love short, manageable campaigns. And give me a little bit of asymmetry. And, it's a perfect recipe, right? So super excited, high expectations going into this for me. Let's check out some of the components and things, and then we'll talk about it. All right, the Lost Ruins of Arnak, the Missing Expedition. Now on the box, it does say that this is for 1 to 4 players, and that's because it's going to have a lot of components that can be mixed into the base game. And so that's one thing that's in here, and that's why it says up to 4 players. The other big thing that comes in here is a campaign mode for either solo or two-player cooperative mode. That is only for the 2 players, and those will have some specific components. Speaking of which, this is not going to be a real overview of how to play all of that, but just kind of almost a big glorified unboxing. We're going to go through some of these components. I'm assuming you know how to play the base game if you're looking into this expansion. If you don't, I recommend starting there, not with this expansion here. But let's take a look at some of these components. First of all, let's look at some things that are specifically for the campaign. It is going to come with 2-sided board. This can be used in your regular game as well, but if it's in the campaign, it's also going to have this overlay, which might alter either it or it might alter the boards that come in the base game as well. So these are used in the campaign. It's going to come with a sheet, which you will use in the campaign. This is, you're going to get certain achievements throughout the campaign, and you'll mark it off on this in order to unlock different cards and actions that you might be able to have. So that's something else there. And then a couple tokens, which I won't explain because I don't want to spoil, but it does have various components as well. If you're playing a 2-player cooperative, you also each get a pigeon that you can use to send things back and forth to each other to have a shared resource once per round. You'll also have some additional red meeples here, or archaeologist, because in the solo or 2-player, the campaign part, you have to play against a rival, and they are always red. And they get 6 pawns, so there are 4 additional ones to make sure you can bring it up to that. And finally, for the campaign specifically, you're going to have this deck of cards here. This deck of cards, when it comes, is also going to have some of these items and artifacts mixed into it, which you will unlock as you go through. But each one is going to have, each session of the campaign is going to have 2 cards here, kind of overview cards, 1 for a single player, 2 for a double player, which is going to, on the other side, remind you of your goals and achievements as you go. Each of them also, and you can see that one's for the second scenario there, each of them also is going to have these exploration cards, which the setup of each campaign session will tell you how to seed these onto either the board or a side supply, pretty much how you're going to earn them. They're going to offer you some sort of choice down here with a little bit of flavor, and you either get an immediate benefit or a one-time benefit that you can use at any time during the game. And it's going to, as you make those choices, give you these different symbols, which you will then, like we talked about, use to unlock further artifacts and items on this sheet right here. So each scenario is going to have a specific set of cards that's used for that. And I said that was all for the campaign, but it is not, because we also have a campaign book. This is going to go into detail on how to play the campaign and have all of your scenarios specifically on how to set them up. And then some extra text in the back, some hidden text that you might discover. So, campaign book. All right, that's going to do it for the campaign stuff. So now let's look at all this stuff that can be added into the base game. It is still used in the campaign, but it is also fully compatible with just the Lost Ruins of Arnak, with or without the first expansion. So we have the rule book here, which goes over, and it has a really nice here at the beginning, how to use the expansion, what can be mixed in, what can't be mixed in, what to keep separate, all that. So really good overview of the differences between that. And then of course you're in depth on the 2 characters, which we're all super excited about. So let's talk about those. First up is the journalist. Now, he's out there trying to gather information. He's going to come out with some of these newspapers on his own board here, depending on the player count, and then these will be seeded out onto the main board on the exploration sites. What he can do, he also has one of these tiles that comes in here. So what he's going to be able to do is on his turn, he can take a special action in order to research these or get them off the board if he spends the right symbols. And then he gets one of these newspapers. Later on, he can actually publish this article and place it on one of the spots of these two tokens over here. If it has this symbol, we know he gets that benefit immediately. If it doesn't, then it'll be a main action he can take on his turn. So for example, here he can buy an item with a discount of 1. So as he covers those up, though, like this, for example, if he completes a full row, he gets the benefit to the right. Over here, this would mean he opens up a free one of these places to set this token, which gives him access to this blue special action down here on his board. If he goes more vertical here and completes this, then he opens the bottom action. This does have to be completed top to bottom. So for example, he could not do that right there. He'd have to go like that and then build that one and then have access to the bottom action as well, again, as his main action. The other special ability he has is his notebook can go one space above his magnifying glass. So he can go and research a little bit higher with the notebook and take down some notes before he actually does the magnifying glass. So that gives him some flexibility on that main research track. So let's move on and talk about the mechanic. The mechanic has a wheel on her board over here, and she comes with these gold nuggets. She'll choose 2 at the start of the game and seed one of them here and discard the other for the entire game. Then, as you'll see down here on your player board, she gets 2 more to choose from in round 3 and 2 more to choose from in round 5. Again, immediately seeding them into her board here. She also, during round 3, gets a monkey companion, so she will eventually have 3 companions if she does that research track right. Once one of her special cards over here allows her, let's see if we can find it, if she does have all 3, then she can exile this card in order to choose one of the gold nuggets from the last 2, because there are 8 total. So 2 in round 1, 2 in round 3, 2 in round 5, and 2 if she exiles this card, which would fill up her whole wheel track over here. Anytime she has this gear icon, which comes on her base cards as well here, and her monkey gives it to her as well, she gets to rotate this wheel once. Now, if it is a silver one, she'll rotate it once, and she gets one of the 2 silver icons. If it is a gold one, again, she will rotate it once, and she can either take the gold nugget action here or both of the silver. So she's kind of manipulating this wheel over here in order to get more resources for herself. She also has 2 of these blue slots over here, which will be able to be used for her blue special action down here as well. All right, the game is also going to come with 4 new assistants that you can choose from. It's going to come with a couple new guardians here, and then some level 1 and some level 2 sites. Again, these can all be mixed into the base game, but if you are doing the campaign, they are pulled out and you'll kind of discover them as you go. You're also going to get some new of these idle markers here, which have a new icon on it. We have one for refreshing a guardian. So if you use a guardian, and then you get that tile, you can refresh him and actually use him again. That's very exciting. So we have 8 of those. And finally, a whole stack of artifacts and items. So a lot of good ones. Again, same thing. These will start out of the game through the campaign, and you'll discover them as you go through different special actions that you might do or goals that you might achieve. But they are all fully compatible with the base game if you are not going through the campaign. There is a symbol on all of them down here on the bottom, a little airplane, so that you can put them in your base game, and then when you're ready to do a campaign, pull it back out. When you're done, put them back in. So very compatible. And that is going to be all of the components here that come in the Lost Ruins of Arnak, the Missing Expedition. Let's go back up top and talk about it.
All right, so I think the first thing I want to talk about with this
is my initial impressions of the game.
Okay.
Because like I said, I went in with those high expectations of this.
Right.
It's like a game that I already know I love, and everything it's selling me on is right in my wheelhouse, right?
Yeah.
The first gameplay of the campaign, though, was definitely a little bit of a blow to me. What were you
Right.
guys' kind of first impressions of it?
Brutal.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
oh.
It was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be going in.
Yeah.
It is, yeah, it's a lot, and it's there's sort of this the feeling in the first session, and then you kind of get accustomed to it. Plus, I do think they kind of back off of it, where they show you set up the entire game,
Right.
and then they go, okay, here is some things. Here's what you need to do. Here's a few things you may do. Here's the entire world. Go, and you quickly find out, no, you need to do like one thing.
Right.
You need to
Yes.
focus. Don't play. You're not playing to explore Arnak.
Right.
You are doing one thing and as little as possible else to feed just that one thing. Like, you need compasses. You do not buy a card that does not give you compasses.
Right.
You do not take an action that costs you compasses and isn't your main objective.
Right.
Do what you need to do. Ignore everything else. And that's a bit of a double-edged sword, because while that's interesting to go, hey, explore this thing over here that maybe you don't do as laser focused, it also sort of sucks to be like, well, but I like the artifacts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't get any of those this game.
Right.
Because I better advance,
Right.
or
Right.
else I
Yeah.
die.
Right, absolutely. And I don't know if it's the rule book or just I was slow to kind of grasp it, but exactly what you're talking about, where there's one goal. You do this and you win, and the session is win or lose.
Yes.
And then there's all these other goals, and I didn't really grasp that, I don't think, until like my third time through that first scenario that I just could not beat.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was me just not picking up on that from the rule book, or maybe it just wasn't presented in a way that I grasped that goal of it. You know, you play Lost Ruins of Arnak, the base game, and you want points, and everything you do, you're doing a little bit of everything.
Yes.
These sessions kind of hyper focus on one element of the gameplay, and I think really force you to explore that, whether it's the exploration, whether it's the resource track, whether it's getting a lot of artifact cards, things like
Right.
that. I think it's really neat the way that's written into the story, and there are those story elements and some hidden text. If you meet a certain goal, you get a hidden text and a little it's not a side
Little
quest,
blurb,
but
like a
yeah,
little
sign,
blurb of flavor, right?
Flavor, and I thought that was really neat. So once I adjusted to it, I really found myself enjoying this campaign much, much more.
Yeah.
I also
I agree.
think the individual scenarios, I'm going to speak specifically with the co-op to the campaign, I think the individual scenarios get more cooperative as they go.
Yeah.
And you realize as you play through them, you're like, oh, these are sort of like twists on solo mode. You know what I mean?
Right.
This
Yeah.
is cooperative or not. Like if you play with two players or one. They're like alternate ways to play solitaire almost.
Yep.
They're like, okay, in this game, I don't think I'm worried about spoilers here, whatever. You're going to have some things that already begin available to you that normally you explore, but you're going to lose some locations as the story goes on that you'll no longer have access to.
Right.
Kind of avoiding spoilers. And so it's like, okay, it's a twist. It takes something you know and sort of flips it on its head.
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
really need to explore a whole lot. We're revealing this stuff for you. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I like that it does away with some things you expect to be there, has you do some other things that you never even think about. I really do like that they feel like twists on the usual formula.
I also like the fact that I never played the solo AI, like an actual solo AI in a game. I don't do that. It was interesting to see that in there. You know, I'm like, okay, so that's what he's doing, and that's interesting because even the two players,
Right.
you know, you
Right.
get to see that too. I think this would really shine one person in the AI too.
Which is already available,
Okay.
right?
Right,
But this now
right.
gives you the story.
Right, and I like
Yeah.
that. And again, like you said, you have to shift your thinking of Arnak because, like you did, I went in thinking this is the way I play Arnak.
Go up that research
No,
track every
that's a
time. I got to do the
And I
research.
got
No.
whooped. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So I was like, so much to the point where halfway through the game, we're like, yeah, we listen, it's not winnable.
Yeah.
Just restart it.
Sure.
Hard reset.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I really also, so let's kind of set the campaign aside for a second and talk just about all the other stuff that comes in the box.
Yes.
I really like the way they made everything compatible with base game Lost Ruins of Arnak. To the point that you don't even have to have, yes, it comes with these 2 additional characters. If you have the first expansion, you don't have to use those 2 characters in your campaign. You can use any characters.
Yeah.
Or no characters. And it just says, hey, if you don't want to play with asymmetrical characters or you don't have those expansions, use these cards as your starting hand.
Yeah.
So it still gives you the resources and those little boons that you need in order to be successful in the campaign, but maybe you don't want to run a whole character board. I really like the flexibility that provides, one, for the campaign. Setting that aside, all that stuff can mix in with the base game. It's more of what you know. It's more of what you love. It's just beefier, chunkier. If you've played the campaign, you have that connection to those items, and to see them come up in your regular campaign is so exciting.
Right.
I'm sorry, your regular game is so exciting. If you don't, and you're just looking for more stuff, more variability, it's all compatible in there, and you shuffle it in, and you jump into a normal game.
Right.
I think that is so very well done and very smooth in this expansion.
I agree. Even if you put the campaign aside, those 2 characters, they also the other tracks, the waterfall, the temple, all that.
They give you a bunch of
They really
toys
do.
to play with.
Yeah.
They're like, here's a few separate things. They come together, they break apart, they combine with the base game, they combine with the first expansion. You can, it's sort of brilliant that everything fits together.
Right.
And you can also just take whichever parts you want to play with and put them in, and that'll work. It's just kind of going to work out.
Yeah,
I really do like that. It's incredibly well done.
Yep.
I agree. Any other points you guys wanted to bring up before we go to final thoughts here?
No.
Nose goes.
Those go. Oh.
Well, you found the expedition, so.
I did find it. Okay, actually, I love the characters that come with this. The mechanic, I think the journalist as well. So I think there's so much in this, even if you don't like the campaign, which is 6 missions, but be honest, it's 8 or 9 because you're going to fail.
Because you're not very good.
Yeah.
It's 6 different ones.
6 different ones. So it's great, but I'm coming in as an 8.5 on this because I really like this. I think I'd get leaders before this just because I like those leaders, asymmetry, but I think this is essential as well for me. That really adds variability to Arnak, a game that I already love.
Yeah. I'm coming in at a 9 on it. I think this expansion has something for everyone. For the solo
Stealing
player,
my thunder.
am I? Oh, we didn't talk beforehand. For what it's worth, I think that if you are a solo player and you're looking to go through a story and a campaign and beef up that solo mode a little bit, there's something in here. If you're a well-experienced Lost Ruins of Arnak and you just want to beef up and have new items or new things to explore, there's something in here for you. If you want to dabble with a leader and kind of get a little taste and play, there's something in there here for you as well. I think what it does take a little bit of the dock coming off of a 10 for me is getting into the campaign felt a little clunky. That first game felt clunky. It didn't feel winnable. And now that once I went like halfway through the campaign, I almost wanted to restart the campaign.
Sure.
And I was like, but I'm 4 games in, so I don't want to go back. So that's kind of, I think, jumping into the campaign. But man, once you get in here, once you get in it, I really enjoy it. You do see those subtle cooperative elements coming together. I think that you really, it's going to make the base game more interesting and kind of beef that up as well. And ultimately, as an experienced player, it makes me stretch outside of my comfort zone of play. You know, I've played a lot. Cool, let me try focusing solely on getting artifacts and seeing what the highest score I can get that way is. But here's a lot of stuff to beef it up to make that plausible.
Right.
You know,
Right.
so for me, it's a 9. I think it is just, there's something in it for everyone, no matter how you play.
I'm coming in at an 8.5 as well, like Joey is, and I think, like you said, that's exactly what I was going to say is there's something in here for any flavor of Arnak player that you are.
Right.
For some of those flavors, this is more recommended, in my opinion, than for others. Like if you're a solitaire player, you play Arnak a lot solo. This is a 10, man. You want to get this.
Yep.
There's a campaign in here that's going to let you bring this game to the table with more story than ever before, distinct missions, a just way more theme. And unfortunately, a little clunkiness to setting up, just a little more to kind of read, keep track of, circle little things, all of that stuff. That sort of is part of the bundle. It's part of the package you have to deal with, okay?
Right.
But as a solo player, I would tremendously recommend this. I think the 2-player campaign is fine. It's like not fine, it's great, but it's not as clean as 1 because of all the weirdness they had to do in order to make a game that was never cooperative in any form.
Yeah.
Cooperative, okay? It doesn't feel naturally cooperative, and the couple of things they do to make it that are good. Like the little birds, I can send you something.
It's fun.
You can send me something.
Oh, yeah.
The
Cool.
pigeons,
That's good. You know what I mean? The characters are great, and I do not think, like Joey said, that this expansion is as for me as the first one.
Right.
I love expedition leaders. That is
I do too.
fantastic. Having a game, if you play the base game and then you go, and now you can be a character with a distinct personality, your own vibe, your own things that nobody's going to do in the entire game. You have your own thing. I love that. And so if you are someone who loves that, I also recommend this very highly because you get 2 more. That right there, honestly, I'm like, yep, worth it.
Yeah.
Extra cards to shuffle into the decks and 2 more characters. I'm good. I don't have to play with this campaign like ever, and I'm happy.
Right, and they
agree.
still feel unique and different and interesting.
Yeah.
Even though we're like, 7 or 8 characters deep now, there's still so much personality in those individual ones.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love
Yep,
the
I agree.
mechanic. I mean, mechanic shot the top for me.
So depending on what kind of player you are, again, is going to depend how much or how little of this expansion you yourself enjoy and utilize and use the way they want you to use. But as it is, it's chock full of fun, theme, more to do. This is a great expansion. Just not as good as the first one, in my opinion, because that one was like a 9.5 kind of expansion.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Well, there it is. That's what we think of Lost Ruins of Arnak, the second expansion here, The Missing Expedition. Thanks for joining us. I'm Camilla.
I'm Joey Evans.
I'm Z.
And there you go. Go find Professor Kutil.
Found him.
No,
Did you?
didn't.
No, I didn't.